Great. Welcome, everyone. Thank you so much for being. We have Joe, and I don't know if, can you guys hear me?
Can
Debbie,
now.
or Sherry, you were muted
Oh,
just now.
sorry. That's okay. I was thinking, gosh, yes. Well, I'll just start again and say, oh, DC has a question. Let's see. DC, did you? Oh, I think her phone was muted.
I unmuted everyone, so she should be able to share.
DC, I see your hand is raised. Did you need to ask us something? All right, well, we'll continue. I was just saying, welcome everyone. We're so glad to have you at our author panel. And a special thank you to our guests, Joe, if you want to raise your hand and just say hi to everybody, and Cheryl,
Hi, everybody.
and Rachel. And welcome also to our wonderful Mango Publishing representatives. Hey, Debbie, thank you for being here. And Robin, we see your fun cartoon of, oh, yay, Robin! It's always such a special treat when we get to see you. Yay. Welcome, welcome. So I believe Rachel is going to start us off just to get us sort of grounded here and centered. Thank you, Rachel.
All right. I wanted to start with 3 deep conscious breaths. It's just about being in the space you actually are, taking a deep breath into the 10 count and a deep breath out to the 10 count 3 times. And just centering yourself, be present with where you are in this very moment. So everybody take a breath in. And release. In. And release. On your last one, really feel your feet center and touch the ground and ground yourself in that space of that last breath. May we all get exactly what we need today in this moment right now. Enjoy the present moment and know that we are safe.
Oh, thank you, Rachel.
You're welcome.
What a beautiful reminder to breathe deeply, right? I love that. Yeah, thank you so much. So why don't we start with having our authors, and Rachel, we'll start with you since you were just doing that lovely meditation, to, if you would hold up your book and let us know the title of your book and also where you're from, and maybe just one thing that has really helped you, supported you in your own personal life through this challenging time.
Okay. My book is Letters from a Better Me, How Becoming an Empowered Woman Transforms the World. I am from, well, I'm living in Venice, Florida. I'm from all over. I love moving, but I've been here for the longest I've ever been anywhere. So I'll say I'm from here. The thing that really has helped me right now is getting outside and taking pictures of nature, like really being with where I am in the moment. And I don't think I've ever noticed spring as much as I have this year because of what we're dealing with. I've got to see the baby birds and ducks and Anahinga babies, which I never thought I'd ever see. And it has just been amazing that way to see that. So that's been a true joy. And it's really getting out there and putting my feet in the earth has just really helped center me and keep me in a place of peace and know that I'm there in that moment.
Oh.
It reminds me to exhale, which, you know, one of the things that fear does is it makes us not exhale. It we hold our breath. So that exhale is so important when anything's happening that we feel that stress, is to fully exhale. And that's my reminder to do it, is being out there. So.
Oh, that's beautiful. But you have to tell us, what kind of baby did you say you saw?
And hinga, they're this snake bird that they call them like a snake bird because they look like a snake when they're in the water and they pop their head up, and they're so cool. I've been taking so many pictures of them.
Wow.
So yeah, I've just really enjoyed that piece because, you know, if I was running all over the place and running around and busy with life, I wouldn't have slowed down to see all that new life. So
Wow.
That's really helped me.
Yeah. And I just feel like I want to say, because this would have been your book launch tour right now. And I guess I just wanted to, my heart goes out to you. And I'm so grateful that you're here with us, and that you were, you know, I was really struck by that you're taking the time to be out in nature and to just be planted where you are, you know, in a time where, you know, you have your own loss around what's happening right now. And I feel grateful for that, for what you're bringing this positivity to us.
Yeah. Well, and that actually has helped me too with the nature pictures and everything that I'm doing. And with the loss, I've started a YouTube series called Letters to Corona. And it's on my Letters from a Better Me channel. And it's a lot of the pictures I've taken, but it also has all these messages of the things that we're going through. And one of those things is the grief. And people are grieving all different things right now. You know, kids who don't get to graduate, like have that graduation ceremony. It's the grieving of that rite of passage for not just the kids, but the parents, all the senior events that are canceled and everything else. So, you know, it's to acknowledge that we're going through all these different things, and there is a space for all of it.
Yeah. Well, you know, and I invite you, hopefully after we're done with this, if you want to post the link to that in the comments of where we have our video, I bet people would be really interested in checking that out. Yeah. Thank you. Thanks. Joe, why don't we have you introduce yourself and tell us about your book and what you're doing right now to take care of yourself.
Well, thanks, Sherry, and nice to meet you, Brenda. I haven't ever met you before. I'm a
Welcome, Brenda.
newcomer to Mango. Mango bought out my other publisher, Canary, so this is good to meet. And I've never been part of a author panel like this, so this is a new experience.
Yay!
But I've been writing books for about 30 years, and I've been a psychologist for about 50 years. So I'm a therapist and a coach and consultant to organizations and training people. But I wrote this book, Fearproof Your Life, in 2008, in the aftermath of 9/11. There was this epidemic of fear that is similar to the pandemic of the coronavirus that we have now, that was overtaking our media. It was overtaking people's minds. People were just really full of fear. And the psychology that I teach is a psychology based on the principles of resilience, and how we all have this natural innate state of resilience, and that there are principles that guide that. And this is what I teach therapists and physicians and people in healthcare, how to bring out that resilience. So I wanted to write a book about how we could immunize ourselves against the epidemic of fear, the pandemic of fear. And so when this pandemic hit, there was a concurrent pandemic of fear. And so I talked to Brenda and other people about, you know, bringing this book out again in a little bigger light. And I'm writing a couple of other books right now, but it just seems so relevant, because for me, going through this is really, in a way, it sounds weird. I've had my moments where I'm like, feel trapped in my home, or restricted because I was supposed to be in London, or I was supposed to be traveling to different parts of the world. All that's been canceled. I had a conference. But on the other hand, this has just been such a blessing for me to know what I know about the mind and how it works, and how it's allowed me to settle into a feeling of a deep reflection and clarity, and start to see so many things in my life that are unnecessary and that I can declutter not only my closet, but my mind of a lot of habitual thinking. So this has really been a period of real spiritual growth for my wife and I, really deepened our relationship, and I've really gotten back into my writing. So it's been a real joy. And I too spend a lot of time in nature. I live in the woods and have turkeys and deer in the yard. And so I love being able to see it more. I wrote another book called Slowing Down at the Speed of Life. And I feel like I'm finally realizing what that means because life has kind of all forced us in the shutdown to slow down to the speed of this moment. And that's really what's happening for me. So that's been a blessing.
Wow. Thank you, Joe. So many beautiful things. I love how you're living your books right now, in these different ways. It's so inspiring. And the whole thing about like decluttering your mind. What a great phrase to think about. Thank you so much.
You're welcome. Thank you for the opportunity.
Hi, Nita. Nice to see you. So Cheryl, how about you?
Hi, I'm Cheryl Leutjen, and I'm in Los Angeles, and I'm the author of Love Earth Now. So it's really interesting to me to hear the other authors speaking about the importance of a connection to nature in this extraordinary time. For me, that was one of the more difficult things at first was not being able to go out to some of my favorite places in nature. I wrote almost all of this book at a few chosen outdoor places around Los Angeles. And so at first I was still going out, and then I just felt incongruent to be going out places when the call is to be at home and I don't have to be out. And to realize and appreciate the nature that is just out my own window, walking around my own block, that I don't have to go to nature. It's kind of funny that I have to remind myself because this is what I write and talk about. And yet, that's so often what we write and talk about is what we need to teach ourselves, right? So that's what I've been reminding myself, and yes, really appreciating the simple, just being able to sit out on my patio and listen to birds like I've never listened to birds before. And I thought I had pretty much spent a lot of time really paying attention to nature. So it's been an important part of my therapy right now too.
Oh, it's so beautiful, isn't it? That each of you has spoken to nature in that way. And I don't know about all of you, but I'm looking out a window. I don't know if everyone has a window to look out of. If you don't, I guess you can imagine. But I just thought it would be nice to have just a moment where we really just appreciate the nature that's right outside of wherever we are. Like you were saying, Cheryl, that it's here all the time. And I too have gone through where I really want to go to the beach. I'm in San Francisco, but I can't, I could walk there, but it's many, many miles from where I live. But to just appreciate what's right outside our doors. What a beautiful message. Yeah, thank you. Thank you. That's wonderful. And again, welcome to everyone who's here with us. And I would love to go back to you, Rachel, and have you share with us, any of the ideas from your book that you feel are particularly standing out for you right now as ways to support people, that might be some teachings or practices that we could all use.
Well, I've actually had to go back to my book a lot during this because it reminds me that I have the tools. I have the tools to be where I want to be, and I have the ways to move through where I don't want to be. And so it's what Cheryl was saying. It's like you're using your book, you're using it a lot right now. And for me, I have a section about centering ourselves in our daily activities. And I think that's where I go to the most because it's as simple as being conscious when we put our foot on the ground from our bed. It's being conscious of when we go to the bathroom and wash our hands. It's being present with our hands to really stay in the moment of what that feels like. And really be centered and connected to what we're doing. One of the jokes I make in the book kind of is that, you know, some people who are afraid of meditation, you can start on the toilet, because literally it's taking that deep breath in and a deep breath out, and then you're breathing deeply and consciously and you're there. Because it's, you know, sometimes we make it so complicated. And just to be centered in our activities can be a meditation. So that's the hand washing, the walking, that, like, if people have dogs, walking, that, speaking of, my dog just sneezed, but walking the dog, and just wherever we're putting our feet, we are being exactly where our feet are. And washing dishes, you know, I really go into that in the book, because it is such an important tool to not get carried away with what's in the past and what's in the future, because the only known thing is right here, and there's not stress here if we can stay there in that moment. So using that has really been what's kept me, you know, remembering to go outside and appreciate nature, because I'm centering myself. If I'm too invested in the fear, I lose me in it. And I do not want to be there. So that's not where I want to be.
Wow. You know, what's just striking me, Rachel, is that you're helping people to bring this particular centering in right now, which is so important right now, right? When there is so much future fear. But I also was really struck by how then people will carry these practices, you know, into the next and the next and the next and the next, and how deeply these practices will serve us all. So I love that.
Well, and I feel like when we do it out of, in that crisis spot, when we're doing it, it kind of engages us more. And so we might be more apt to make it into that pattern of doing it for the 21 days in a row, doing it for the 35 days in a row, because we feel like we need it. And then when we get comfortable, we start like relaxing. But it's having the pandemic be this long, it actually, I feel like, is helping me stay in things longer and enjoy being in my space longer. And I'm more present now than I was when it wasn't here, because I feel the need for it more. And I know for other people too, that's going to last. If you can get there now, it's going to last longer later.
Oh, that's so great. I've been asking everybody in my own life about the gifts of this time, because as many griefs as there are also the gifts. And what I think you just articulated one, which is that I have had a lot of people say they're so desperate that they're turning to nature or to meditation, or, you know, to some really supportive new habits. And you're right, like that it's an odd gift, but it is definitely a gift that we have all this time to practice taking care of ourselves deeply. And I love that you're really supporting that. That's so great. Thank you. Yeah. Cheryl, how about you? What would you like to share? What wisdom from your heart in your book?
One of the themes from my book that comes to mind is this: there's no one size fits all answer. And so when it comes to what should I be doing, how should I be taking care of myself, how should I be taking advantage of this time and learning 5 languages and taking up knitting and sewing masks and all these things that I think a lot of us feel this need to fill the void of this time. And yet it is, as Rachel was saying, it is a gift to have this void of time and to allow yourself to not be busy and not feel like I need to be doing XYZ because I have this time and everyone else isn't, and all these videos and there's all this sense of, and also for those of us who are accustomed to being productive, it can be difficult, you know, to let go of this feeling like, what did I do today? I watched some TikTok videos and I, you know, read a book and picked at my toenail, you know, and to say that's a productive day, no. And so it's to let go of the notion that we all need to be doing something, and discover what it is for you to be doing or not be doing right now. And maybe it is to enjoy this gift of this time and not be doing. And to let go of the expectations. And this is so difficult for me because I have rigid expectations of what I should be accomplishing. And to accept that challenge and to let those expectations go of what it means to have a day in your life, and accept the gift of perhaps doing nothing, and perhaps finding and perhaps engaging in these mindfulness moments to discover for ourselves what it is that I really want to be doing right now and what I want to be letting go. Because for those of us who are, I'm assuming, non-essential workers, we're here in the afternoon having this conversation. We have these yawning bits of time that we're not, most of us, accustomed to having. And so making the most of that gift in the way that is most meaningful for you, even if it means doing nothing at all.
Wow. That's so beautiful. And I want to ask you, Cheryl, how have you supported yourself? Because it sounds like this has been something you've been practicing. How have you been supporting yourself in that letting go process?
Well, it's taken me some time and experimentation. I'm not always successful at practicing what I preach. And yet my yoga studio is doing their classes online right now. And so that's been a gift to me, because one of the hurdles for me is with anything is getting myself out of the house to go to it. I don't have that excuse anymore. And so now there are all these opportunities online to dip into a class or a meditation or a yoga or something, a mindfulness experience, and just to be there. And don't turn your camera on if you don't want to be judged, and just even just listening to the music. So I've been reminding myself to return to the practices that nourish me on any given day, and that includes yoga, that includes maybe a mindfulness moment, that means journaling, that means it might mean screaming, which is frankly one of my favorite forms of therapy. It's a little more challenging now that I have a house full of people that aren't usually here with me, but we do what we can do.
Wow, I love that. And thank you for including screaming in that, because it really goes along with what you were saying about there's no one size fits all. And I so appreciate that. I think that's just such a beautiful message that, for people to listen to whatever they need. And then it could look like screaming, or it could look like meditation, or screaming meditation, who knows? It could be any of it. And thank you for that. I think what you're really doing is offering this permission for people to take care of themselves in a way that feels true.
Absolutely. And laughter, I omitted laughter. If watching funny videos is what I need to get me through this afternoon, so be it, because I truly think laughter is the best medicine.
I agree. Oh, I agree. Oh, thank you so much. That's so great. Thank you. So Joe, how about you? I know your whole book probably is just chock full, right? Like everything we need to know.
Well, it's hard to boil it all down. As I was listening to Rachael and Cheryl talk, there were several things that you guys said that just really resonated with me, and that, we do a lot of things to try to get back to who we are already. Whether it's meditating or being mindful or watching funny videos or screaming or whatever. And what's been most helpful to me is to realize that part of me, that thing I'm looking for, that we're all looking for, that inner peace, that feeling of connection, feeling of serenity or calm, is really our nature. It's really our true essence. And that true essence that all of us are is only clouded by our thoughts in the moment, whether they're fearful thoughts, busy-minded thought, or I should be doing this, or I should be doing that, or I need to be productive, or how long is this going to last, or their thoughts are just we have thousands and thousands and thousands of thoughts a day. But at the center of that hurricane of thoughts, that whirlwind. In that eye of the hurricane is a presence, it's a consciousness, it's an awareness. And when we realize that all we're ever really living in is the feeling of our own thinking in this moment. And for me, that's the principle. When we understand the principle of thought, that that's how we create our psychological experience of life, is through this power of the mind and the power of thought. And most of my life, I completely just was a creature of habitual thinking. And one of my favorite thoughts was fear, because I was a very anxious kid, and probably why I became a psychologist, because I wanted to figure out how not to be so fearful. And I didn't realize that the things that I was anticipating would happen in the future, I thought that was what was creating my fear. I didn't realize it was my thoughts in this moment. And when I started, through insight, waking up to that true fact that we're always living in the feeling of our thinking, I began to have these moments where the calm would come rushing in, just through that simple, gentle noticing or awareness that I'm thinking. It's almost like when you wake up from a nightmare and you realize, oh my God, thank God it was a nightmare. It's not real. But we're in a daymare most of the time. You know, we're living in thinking that's habitual, anxious thinking. And we've become addicted to that, thinking that if I can just get to this point, if I can just succeed with this, if I can just get that relationship that's going to fulfill me, if I can just get this book published or get it out, find a publisher, then I'll be okay. And whilst we're doing all that, we're missing this present moment. We're missing the fullness of our resilience, of our inner spiritual essence that is complete and whole and has all of the answers, all of the insights we need to survive in the world. Just yesterday, I was working with a client who's a recovering alcoholic, and he has the coronavirus. And so he's locked down in his basement. He has 2 handicapped children and his spouse that live upstairs. So he's on lockdown in the basement. And he said, God, I've just been going nuts. He says, I'm just so anxious. All I can keep thinking is all the things I'm not getting done. And what if I go bankrupt? And will I still have a job when this is over? And all of this. And I've been working with him for a while, and he went through the treatment center for addiction I work with. And so I just reminded him, I remember that all that's really happening when you're filling your head with all that is that you're just lost innocently in your own thinking. You're like a prisoner of thought, and you have the key and the handle to open that door. And all you have to do is recognize that. And he says, God, I almost feel like I'm going to have a panic attack. He said, thank you for reminding me of that. It's so simple that all I have to do is remember who's creating this. Where is this coming from? Whatever is happening, and there's real stuff happening in the world. My niece just found out she has the coronavirus. There's really, my 401k has almost disappeared in the last few weeks, at least a third of it has. So there's lots of real things happening. But when we remember where our experience is coming from, it reconnects us to that resilience and that health, that innate mental health, that is our true nature. And that for me is what is the only, it's really simple. It's only one thing to remember, that's where my experience is coming from. And from that, I see clear choices, and I get insights to how to creatively deal with whatever is on my table, whatever life has given me. So that's really in a nutshell what Fearproof Your Life is about. Is, you know, as FDR says, we have nothing to fear but fear itself. So when we're not afraid, we see clearly with common sense and wisdom and creativity how to deal with whatever is given to us.
Wow, Joe, that was so beautiful. It occurred to me when because you encapsulated that so beautifully, and really the simplicity of it. And as my own spiritual teacher says, you know, it's simple but not easy, you know, to do. But I was really struck by how you embody what you're teaching us So that I felt it was as much how you are as what you were saying that really comes across, because it just seems as if you have this wonderful groundedness in the moment. And I was really appreciating that when you were speaking.
Thank you. Yeah, I feel very, very lucky and very fortunate to have realized from a lot of great teachers, spiritual teachers, and people who I've encountered in my life who keep reminding me of who I really am. And that I guess the biggest thing I learned from all this is to just be comfortable in my own skin, to just be myself. You know, whether it's when I'm writing or speaking to a group or counseling someone, I don't really have to prepare. I remember working with Carl Rogers years ago, and trained with Virginia Satir and many wonderful therapists in the past. But Carl Rogers said, he says, before I go into a counseling session, before I give a talk, he said, I just remember one thing, and that's that I am enough. I am enough. And that's pretty much it. Pretty much simplifies. We're always trying to be more than we are, striving for something other than just sinking into our essence. And that's, you know, we're all beautiful. We're all perfect. There's only one Rachel. There's only one Cheryl. There's only one Robin, and only one Brenda Knight, and Sherry, and Debbie, and Nita, and Mary, and Meltra,
Melissa.
whoever that is. Sorry. There's only one of us, and if we're not, if we're trying to be something better or more than we are, we're missing out on the beauty of who we are. It's so simple, but so true.
Yeah. Yeah.
Thank you for listening.
Oh, thank you. And, you know, one of the things that I love the most about these Wednesday panels that we've been doing is everyone just shows up, right? So it's, you guys haven't prepared things. It's just who you are. And that's, I think for me, what has touched me so deeply is that we have this amazing community of people who are showing up in all these ways to be yourselves, but also to serve, you know, in this case, through the written word. But that when you show up on these panels, you're just here with all your wisdom. And you know, Brenda and I named it, you know, wisdom from the heart, which I just feel was so apt, because it's just, you're just here with whatever's at the top of your heart at the moment. And it's such a joy to get to experience that. So yeah, thank you all. And I'm curious if anybody, and it could be one of the authors who's a guest author, or anyone else who's here right now, did you hear something that sparked something, or you have a question for one of our authors, anywhere that you want to take the conversation? We're really open. And I think, Debbie, that's right. Everybody's muted now, right? But if you want to, you could hover over the word participant at the bottom of the screen, and a panel will open, and it says raise hand at the bottom. And then we get a little hand raising so that we know if you want to say something. Or because we can see a lot of you could also just raise your hand literally.
That's so simple.
I know. I didn't even think of that. Like, it's so analog.
I'll raise my hand.
Yes, Ms. Brenda. Welcome, welcome.
Okay. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Well, I just wanted to ask everyone, and I guess we could go, I'll ask Rachel first, and then she can hand off to Joseph and then Cheryl. But it seems like every week is a different chapter of like the book of coronavirus. I mean, like that there's something different, you know, like this week it's the worries about food shortages and people maybe being forced to work in an unsafe environment. I mean, I haven't watched much of the news in the last couple of days, but I managed to catch that. And it just seemed so odd to me that it actually seems like somehow the human element of all of this is getting lost, and people are just worried about the stock market and the economy and all that. But like, it's human lives. Like, isn't that the most important thing? And how could that be forgotten, or am I wrong about that impression? So over to you, panel.
I know I've definitely I've felt when someone puts our rights as citizens, like Americans or something, above our humanity, it makes my heart sad. Because I feel like, to me, this is a humanity first opportunity. It's our opportunity to put humanity first. And it's not about the countries we live in. It's not about, rights of, our citizens' rights. It's about keeping each other up, keeping each other alive, keeping each other lifted, keeping each other together, even though we have to be separately together. Mm-hmm. And so what I do is I really try to focus on everything I put out into the world is that it's humanity first. Anything that I'm doing, I have my Facebook page called From a Loving Place, because it's all about putting love first. It's all about humanity first. Because this is our opportunity to shine through right now. It really is our opportunity to shine through as humans. And I'm really hoping that no matter what comes up, even for the people who truly are committed to putting humanity first, no matter what governments say, no matter what, they will shine through and put humanity first. And I really think it's our time to lift up and shine in that way. And so that's what I just know, my energy has to be there if I want it to come back to me. Do you know what I mean? It's like, if I'm in that place of fear that it's not, I attract that knot. I attract that energy of the knot. And so then my focus starts slipping into those fear places. So for me, I'm just really, and sometimes more than others, having to focus on, okay, what's the message of humanity first? What's my energy level of humanity first? How can I put that energy out there to maybe help that person think, maybe this isn't a better choice to just go out there and put other people at risk, not wear their masks, because it's about, when they're wearing masks, it's not about our fear. It's about us not wanting to spread to someone else. So that's our humanity coming out first and raising things higher, is saying that I don't want to be a carrier and I'm not going to take that chance on you. What can we do? Mm-hmm. And to me, it's all about each individual choosing, what can I do? So.
That was beautiful, Rachel. Who are you going to pass the mic to?
I will go to Joe, because he's in my triangle.
Okay. I don't know where I am. There I am, right there. Okay.
You're right here, Joe. You're right here in the moment with us.
Oh, that's right. That's be here now. That's right. Yeah. Thank you, Sherry. I appreciate that. The thing for me that's the easiest thing in the world to forget when I'm in a reactive daymare, whether I'm upset with what's coming across on the news, listening to a press conference, or the latest stupid decision made, or, because this coronavirus is like the great wake-up call for humanity. And it's really showing each of us individually, our habits, of ego and self-centeredness and all about me and etc. And so we see the worst of people coming out at this time, the very worst of ego, selfishness, buying all the toilet paper, hoarding, anger, a lot of blame, blaming other people for the problem, blaming China, blaming this, blaming that. And it's really easy for me as a human being, because I'm human, to get caught up in blaming people for blaming or blaming people for being an egomaniac or blaming. And I don't realize, because it's so tricky. Thought is it's like mercury. You try to grab it and it slips through. You don't realize that that what your experience isn't coming from them. It's not coming from what they're saying. As stupid, as crazy, as off base as it might be, your experience isn't coming from that. And when I see that, when I wake up in that moment and I realize, oh, I'm creating the upset here about their upset, that gives me my power back as a human being. It empowers me to see and to be grounded in that power so that I can see what difference can I make? How can I help? How can I serve? Like you said, what's the humanity thing to do here? So my natural state when my head is clear is to feel compassion and empathy, even for people who are doing stupid, crazy, dumb things. Like just inject a little bleach, if I can get a little political here. It won't hurt you. Isn't that a good idea? What do you think? So, it's like you go, what? My head explodes for a moment. But when I realize, okay, that person doesn't have the power to take away my peace of mind. And when I see that, I am a light in the universe. I am a love in this world. I am compassion in the world. And that's how we can really do. The collective is really the individual expressed. The collective of all of us. And when we remember that simple truth that we're always living in the feeling of our own thought created moment to moment experience, it gives us our power back. It simplifies the complexity of life, and it gives us this creative, innovative ideas of what we can do. And that's what has happened in this slowing down and settling down period for me. It's just really quieted me to see, what's really important here in my relationships, with my wife first, with my kids, my grandkids, my friends, my role in the world as a writer, as a speaker. How can I best serve rather than. So that's what happens. But when I'm reacting to the TV set, or, because it's kind of what we're living in a TV world, or because we're isolated a lot, it's easy to forget the power, the incredible amount of power that we have. And when every person sees that, it just creates this collective consciousness shift. And that's what, to me, on a spiritual level, that's what this is all about. This is a spiritual shift that's happening. It's coming in a weird form, but it's forcing everybody to see our oneness, our unity. The virus doesn't know any borders, nationalities, religions, political parties. It's an equal opportunity employer here. It'll go anywhere. And so we have to work together. And I had this thought on me, if I was God, let's say God was a puppeteer, and I was trying to create a perfect way, a perfect therapeutic intervention for the planet, the coronavirus would have been it. It was like, what else could better bring people together than something that is non-discriminatory, and they have to work together to survive? So to me, this is like this extraordinary opportunity. We've been talking about the new age for a long time. I feel like this may be the propellant, the injection we needed to propel us to the next level. And that's how I see it. I might be deluded, I don't know, but that's my thought, and I'm sticking with it.
I'm going to go to the Church of Joe. I'm all in. I like it.
Yes. Can I have an amen there, sister?
Yes. Amen, brother. I love what you said. I mean, so much of what you said, but particularly about each of us, like that it's individuals. We have the power to be the light and to be the love, and that raises the whole collective. And I think that's so powerful, such a powerful reminder. Brenda, did you raise your hand, or were you just? Oh.
I love what planet you're on, Brenda. I don't know what stratosphere or where universe, but I want to go there.
You're welcome to. We can have a branch of the Church of Joseph up here.
Yeah. Ooh, a Church of Joseph retreat, wherever Brenda is. I'm in. I know, I agree. It's so peaceful. Yes, thank you so much for all of that. So Cheryl, what do you think?
Well, I resonate with everything that Rachel and Joe have just said. I'm ready to sign up for the Church of Joe, and may this, I've had those same thoughts and prayers that this be, you know, the quickening perhaps of that new age you talk about. I also I want to be very cognizant about what messages I'm putting out. I have my own moments of outrage and frustration with people, and so I allow myself those moments and outlets, and I might even type up some posts and delete them just for that satisfaction. And then what I want to be sharing is our messages and examples of people who are making good of this time. The delivery guy who stops to sing happy birthday to the 95-year-old, to the people who delivered beer to the elderly lady who put up a sign asking for beer, to all the people who are responding to this time with heart and hope and courage, because I think our stories and our demonstrations are far more powerful than all the preaching that we could be doing, and insisting that other people think the way that I think. I mean, part of me looks at these stories of people doing things that I cannot understand, and just I have to wonder, I shouldn't say, what has happened in your life that has led you here to this moment, to be drinking bleach, to be protesting, to be, I mean, how I you know, if I allow myself that opportunity to imagine the kind of hurt, the kind of the lack of opportunities, the lack of education, the mistreatment that someone has to have suffered to be at that point in their life, then and only then can I really drop some of that judgment and send them some love, because we all could use more of that.
Oh.
So being very cognizant and encouraging in what I share, and the good news and the Yes Network, and hoping that this time is an opportunity for more messages of kindness and compassion to go viral. Then I know it's up against a lot of competition right now. For the bitterness and the anger and the acrimony, and yet I do feel like Joe. I feel like there is a shift happening, and so I want to be part of the movement, and energetically and supportively as much as I can.
Yeah. Brenda, did that answer what you were asking?
Definitely, yes. I mean, I felt comforted just hearing everyone's responses. It made me feel more, you know, conjoined, you know, to my fellow humans. I'd say mostly I was just looking for just some encouraging words, and I feel like I got a lot of encouraging words from everybody. So that was really feeding my worn down soul.
And you know, since we're talking to you, and I think everybody knows you, but is it okay? So Brenda is the associate publisher at Mango Publishing. And I think this is an appropriate moment, yes, to thank you and to thank Debbie, who's here, and Robin, because my own thoughts on part of this about the humanity is that books have always been one of the things that I've turned to. That's where I've met so many teachers, you know, that started with a book that I picked up. And this community in particular that you all have curated is, to me, it's just full of heart, full of humanity, full of what I think is also, and this is just my own opinion, but I think the self-reflection and the amount of introspection that happens in this community, I think is part of what allows for some of the opinions that we're hearing, which is that we're able to see a bigger perspective because we have a community of people who have put a lot of time and meditation and walks in nature to come to a place of a deeper understanding. And I am so grateful for that. And I feel as if it's a privilege. It's a privilege to be a part of a community like this, because we get to learn from each other. And just like you said, Brenda, me too. Like, I get so uplifted by hearing from other people, their perspectives coming from a place of love and compassion and an openness, as opposed to a closed, frightened place. So I just want to put a little Mango Publishing plug right there.
Thank you. Well, we're grateful to you, Sherry, for being indefatigable and working it out despite Zoom bombings and everything. But I wanted to say that I look forward to these every Wednesday, and it's not work. It's not a busman's holiday for me. It's for personal. It's for personal gain. I look forward to it because afterwards I'm very thoughtful, and I feel like I've been uplifted. So I believe that was our intention, and I'm getting the benefit of it just as a human being.
You and me both. So yeah. Well, thank you. And we do have a few moments. That anybody else want to bring something into the conversation, ask a question, share a thought?
I have one thing that came to me, it's when you were talking, Brenda, because when we observe the bigger picture of life, it can really get overwhelming, and we could feel, what can one person do? What difference could I make? The world's going to hell in a handbasket kind of a scenario in my head some days. And I think back to the heroes of my life, Martin Luther King, who I got to work with in Chicago back in the 60s, and Nelson Mandela and Mahatma Gandhi. And you think of people, those are just three that come to my mind, that their personal transformation, that for Mandela happened in a prison cell. He was a very angry guy, and he had this experience of forgiveness for the oppressors, and how much change that created in the world. It really was the fuel behind the civil rights movement. And Gandhi, just his liberation of India, and the schism between the Muslim community and the Hindu community, and just the peace movement. So many, there's that when we change on an individual level, it changes all of humanity. And so never underestimate the power of one. That is in the power of you, because you are a spiritual being that's connected to everything. And when you change, the whole changes. And if you try to change the outside, you're just in a battle with your own thoughts, and you end up bitter and resentful, and frustrated. So anyway, that's what came to me. Because it's so easy for me too to get caught up, and I was in the 60s, out there protesting a lot, get that whole anger thing going. But when I can see the innocence of people, how innocent it is, it's just, my teacher, Sydney Banks, once spoke to the prison in Santa Clara County. I can't remember the name of the prison, but he was speaking to all the wardens from the state of California came. All the prisoners were there, all the guards, and he stood up. He was so moved by the pain he felt in this group of men. It was a men's prison. And he just turned around. He was just sobbing, and he turned around and started speaking. And he just pointed to almost every person in the group and said, "You're innocent. You're innocent. You're innocent. You're innocent. You're innocent. You're all innocent." And of course, everyone thinks they're innocent in prison, right? But he said, "You're innocent because everyone's doing the best with the thinking they have in the moment."
Wow.
And you could hear a pin drop in that prison. And then he got this big standing ovation from the guards and the wardens and the prisoners. It was amazing. But people are innocent. Donald Trump's innocent. Hitler was in. We're all in. It doesn't mean they're not responsible. Doesn't mean they don't do damage. But when we can see beyond their flaws to the innocence, it helps us. It heals us of our bitterness and our hatred.
Joe, that's so powerful. And I think that what you just said, I just wanted to underscore it. You know, we're all doing the best with what we have in the moment is so necessary right now. And it goes back to what Cheryl was saying too, about just really trying to understand where people are coming from and to know everybody is coming from the best they can with what they have. And that's so beautiful. Rachel, do you have something? I could just see you jumping out of your chair. Tell us.
I'm holding on tight. Well, everything resonates so much. And, you know, it's so funny. I love the way the universe works because I truly believe everyone who is supposed to be here is here. Everyone who is supposed to be in this moment is in this moment. And, you know, one of the reasons I wrote Letters from a Better Me is because of that outside illusion that there's something better outside of us. And Letters from a Me is actually an inward journey because a better me is that inward wisdom that is already in us. It's already there. And so for people to connect to that place and then give out from that place, it expands the world. That's why it transforms the world, because we're giving from that inner core of us instead of from what we're trying to grasp outside of us. And it just, everything that everyone has been saying in here has really resonated with me in that way, because it really is. It's about what we can give from that core of us, not trying to be anybody else, not trying to be anything else than what we are. What we have right here, right now is enough. It's always going to be enough. And it just, that's what empowers us, is to know that knowledge of knowing we are enough right in this moment. It's just so powerful.
Amen, sister. Yes, I'm so glad you shared that with us. It's so true. And it is the top of the hour. And I think that's such a beautiful place to end our time together, which is what you just said about, you know, it's in all of us. And if we allow ourselves to be that light, to be that love of who we really are, wow. To me, it seems like the world will just completely light up. Yeah. Thank you all so much for being here. I know a lot of people have been on a lot of Zoom calls, and I'm always so grateful when you're willing to come on one more and to really get to hear the wisdom of the Mango Publishing community. And special thank you, Cheryl and Rachel and Joe, for being here, and for our Mango representatives for bringing us all together, and to people who have come in, and we have other authors here. Thank you for being here, and mothers. So hope to see you all next week. We have a whole new panel. So until then, take good care.
Thank you so much. It was so nice talking with all of you.
Thank you.
Bye, everyone. We'll have a replay too, if you want to share it.
Bye.
Thanks.